Bismillahirrahmanirrahim wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Today I'm talking about something that I've been sitting on and wanting to talk about and excited about for a long time because it's meaningful on so many levels. We have some big news and I've had to be very patient and diligent and disciplined to not let the cat out of the bag or not let it slip. And so I'm just patting myself on the back a little bit while I celebrate the fact that I finally get to announce today. We just announced September 9th, Monday, 2024, that me and Ant are going on tour together. This is significant on a lot of levels. Where do I begin? So first of all, most of the music, there are people that listen to this podcast that don't listen to my music. There's Muslims here that don't listen to music at all. There's people that like what we talk about and they don't like rap music. They just don't listen. There's people that like to hear me talk and don't like to hear me rap. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe we interview guests that bring them here or whatever. But so I've been putting out music for a long time. And the main albums that I've made, I'm really more of an album artist than I am a single artist. Some people, they make the song, like they have the song that you can show everybody and maybe it's a hit and it's the thing. The people make great singles. There's songs that stand on their own. And a lot of times those people struggle to make good albums. So this the three singles on here are really strong, but you go listen to the album and it's kind of whatever. It's a bunch of filler just so that you could charge more for the three songs that we all wanted to hear. For me, I don't necessarily always make the strongest singles, although there are songs that have turned out to really be effective with people. But for the most part, I make albums. I like an hour to be able to spread out and tell you what I'm thinking about. I like to put together a full project. The main albums that I've done that people respond to the most, the ones that people know me for the most, I've done with this one producer named Ant, he's more known for his work with Atmosphere. So he's half of Atmosphere. Atmosphere is Slug and Ant. And Ant was on the podcast about a year ago because of the fact that I spent a month in Minneapolis a year ago with me and him starting to work on another album together. The album is called Satisfied Soul. It's done, it's mixed, it's mastered, it's 17 songs. It is the type of music that me and him have made together over the years. Some of it is updated, but the main elements are there. And I feel so good about it. I've been doing projects for the last several years. Like usually I do projects in between where I kind of test out different parts of who I am as a person, as an artist. You know, you work with a producer, you have a certain dynamic with them. So with Ant, we do a number of things, but there's a certain kind of thing that he and I really bond over musically. And so there's a certain thing that he and I do that frankly nobody else does in the way that we do it. And it's really beautiful and I really love it. So, but like in between projects, so like I made an album with Jake One, I made an album with Evidence. I just put out an album called Love and Service earlier this year with a producer named Unjust. I did a bunch of like self-produced freestyle stuff that I put out. I've had, we've put out different things. But usually my albums with Ant are spaced out a little bit because it takes a minute for both of us to just really make the time and space. It's mostly me, but for us to take the time and make the time to sit down together and really craft a project together. When I'm with him, I write in a way that I don't write with anybody else. I open up in ways that I don't open up with anybody else. I'm happy on his music in ways that I'm not on anybody else. I'm funny on his joints that, there's just parts of me that come through the best when I'm working with that particular man. So go back if you haven't yet and watch. It's 2 episodes that we did. They're full video episodes in his basement. And you just really get a good window for the first time into who this man is. A beautiful, beautiful man. And his music is incredible. This particular moment is significant because of the fact that, Slug and Ant, Atmosphere, their birthdays are September 6th and 7th, which is amazing. These guys are they're created for each other. They're both black, white, and native, but they probably look white to people. They're both over 6 feet tall. They're right around the same age. Culturally, they're the same. It's like these guys are made for each other. It's a gift from God. It's like when, I always compare it to like when Prodigy and Havoc from Mobb Deep found each other. It's like, it's like they're made for each other. That's how it is with them. And their birthdays just passed. Also, Ant just put out his first producer album. Ant has never put out, except for he made some mixtapes, but he's never put out a solo project of his own music. And I mean, he's been at this for 30 years, professionally releasing albums for 30 years. And he's probably released as much, if not more, music than any other hip hop producer. Like the Atmosphere alone makes so much music. Not to mention that he did my records, he did I Self Divine, he worked with Dem Atlas and a bunch of other people. Entire projects, and all these mixtapes and all the early Rhymesayers stuff. Beyond, Musab, working with him, all of these incredible projects that he's done over the years. It's his first time doing that, releasing an album. So Ant, you go to all the Atmosphere stuff is on their website, which is called atmospheresucks.com. Super perfect for them. I love that name. But if you go to atmospheresucks.com, you can go to Ant's record. You can see it. It's called A Collection of Sounds. And it's a series that he's dropping. And they're really incredible, and it's really dope. And he shared with me, so last year when we were working on this album together, he was also putting these together. And he was like, man, I was partially inspired by seeing you do what you've done, seeing me. The fact that I was with Rhymesayers label for 20 years. And then I stepped away to do my own thing. And BK1, my first DJ, Brendan, who also just put out a new album, a new producer project that he made as a musician. That's really dope. That one's called A Black Box Recovery. That one is for sale at brotherali.com. Very, very, very limited vinyl, and they are moving fast. So if you want to get that BK1 album, and both of them are super reasonably priced for what vinyl is doing now. A lot of people are selling vinyl now for $150 for these limited edition things. You know what I'm saying? We try to keep ours around the $50 mark. So Love and Service is the most deluxe vinyl package you can do without doing a picture disc or like a special cut album. So that one's $55. The BK1 joint is $40. Both at brotherali.com. The Ant record, I think, might be $35. Rhymesayers keeps things extremely cost effective, extremely, low prices. Like, their ethos is really like, we want everybody to be able to afford this that wants to get it. And I appreciate that. But when you're working with a smaller group of artists, you know what I'm saying? When you have a smaller team, a lot of times, like, man, to be very honest, like, we price our stuff so that the first pressing pays for the project. You know what I'm saying? So however much it costs to make the project, you press an amount that you think you're going to sell through in your first run, and then you price that to where, like, okay, if we sell this first run of these, then at least we made our money back. And then everything after that is profit. So over the life of this project, we will make some money, but it's mostly just here so that we can pay ourselves back. We can recoup the cost of doing it. Anyway, Ant just put out a new album of beats called A Collection of Sounds Volume 1. Super dope. Go to Atmosphere Sucks and check that out. Atmospheresucks.com. And also it's on Spotify. You can stream it. It's just such a beautiful thing. And, when I was on that label for 20 years. And there was a time in that label where musically and in terms of our relationships with each other, like, Rhymesayers is a musical movement first and foremost. It's people that got together because they love to make music. We're probably not going to get record deals, but we're going to take it seriously. We're going to treat this like, I don't have a plan B. This is what I'm doing with my life. This is how I'm going to feed my kids. This is when I look back at the end of my life and say, what did I do? I made rap music. And I don't look like I'm supposed to make rap music. My music doesn't sound like the other rap music. Who knows to what extent and degree the hip hop community at large will even know or recognize what I'm doing. But this is what I love to do, and that's what we based our initial connection on. I am going to make rap music every day of my life, and wherever it takes me, whatever it makes me, even if it breaks me, this is what I'm doing. That's how we first connected. And so the bond is first and foremost in music. And that musical bond lives forever, 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 because we also bonded over like our music has to be sincere, like whatever I'm really experiencing in this moment. So like if I'm broke and frustrated, that's what the record's about. If I just fell in love and I'm like losing my mind, that's what the record's about. If somebody's struggling with addiction, that's what the record's about. If somebody's in a dysfunction over, that's what it's about. If I'm, fighting the government, that's what it's about. If I'm organizing the community, like whatever life is about, that's what the music is about. And because of how sincere and how serious it all is, especially the people at the core. Now, they worked with a lot of artists over the years, and I don't know everybody personally. There's people on the label that I don't know, you know what I mean? Just because there's so many of them. And so, but I can say for me, the core artists that especially were there when I got there, Slug, Ant, Idea, Musab, Abilities, a few others, like those are the people that I'm like, I believe in these people and their music. I don't always, we don't say the same things. We don't live the same lifestyle. You know what I mean? There's times where, they're making music about struggling with addiction and I've never had a substance. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's just not the same. But the fact that we're living our lives in this music is such a strong bond. And then secondly, along with that, you start to see each other and know each other in ways that nobody else can. It's like they say, like, you go to war with somebody, people bond over like these really major experiences in their lives. So there's just people that I've bonded with. I just asked Mr. Dibbs to come on the show because Mr. Dibbs was on my first 2 big, long U.S. tours where my entire life changed. But you look at Mr. Dibbs and you look at me, it's like, I don't see it, But that man is part of my heart and my life and my world forever. And he's part of underground hip hop. You know what I mean? So I can't wait to talk to Mr. Dibbs. Hopefully that comes soon, inshallah. But so the bonds that we have with each other, and I would say particularly Slug and Ant, are people that I love beyond words. But then a record label is also a business, and that business has all sorts of stuff. Business and politics are things that people don't always see eye to eye on, because in a lot of ways, this is like us trying to assess a situation and then decide what to do about it. So we're not always going to see eye to eye. We're in a political year, an election year. I'm seeing people do and post all kind of stuff that I'm like, that's not what I would do. That's not how I feel about it. That's not how I would move. I don't like how that looks. But in the political thing and in business, you as a human being with your limited faculties have to assess the situation. So like, we're going to assess the situation differently, and we're all limited. And we, like, different people can come at a situation politically and business wise and both be sincere and both be driven by something good and assess it very differently based on what our experiences are, what our personal, personality is like, what our disposition is, how old we are, what words mean to all this kind of stuff. So the first thing is assessing the situation in politics and business. Then the next thing is, what are we going to do to rectify this, to better this, to advance our cause in this? So, and that's a whole other system of like, we're going to see that differently. So in politics and in business, we're going to do things differently, and there are certain things that just aren't going to work for each other. Some things, if we really are grown and mature, we just have to agree to disagree. So on the business side, we had to agree to disagree, and I stepped away and did, and me and BK are doing my own business now. That was a deeply painful thing. It was almost kind of like a divorce, because, it's like, God forbid, I pray that me and my wife die next to each other and are buried next to each other. I love that girl. It's just from day one. I don't know if Allah just hooked us up. I mean, Allah, whatever it is, Allah hooked us up. But I don't know if we actually knew. Like, we fell in love so quick, and our minds and hearts were made up from within 24 hours. Like, I didn't even propose. After less than 48 hours, we just started talking about the details of being married and living our lives together. And here we are 20-something years and 3 babies later, you know what I mean? And she also raised my son, from my first marriage. We raised him in our house. And she still, so I pray we're together forever. But it's like when you go through a divorce, when people go through a divorce, a lot of times it's like, man, I'm not saying that mommy's a bad person. I'm not saying daddy's a bad person. I'm just saying that we're not meant to be married right now. We're not meant to be married anymore. And that's the way I started to feel with the record label, or just the business side of things. Nobody, and I know that everybody over there is a good person that does what they do for beautiful reasons. It's just we were assessing it differently. We're experiencing it differently. And I started to realize certain things for myself that really were difficult pills for me to swallow. You know what I mean? I came around the Rhymesayers label when they had already been together and working for several years, for like 5 years. I met them around 2000. They became an official label in 95, but they had been working together. Some of those guys went to high school together. And so they were already up and running. And the language was the collective. This is a collective, and all the artists are part of it, and we all own it together, and we all like sacrifice for the good of the label. So when I came in, I'm thinking that's what it is. I'm thinking in some way, this label is also mine. And then as I started to have more questions and concerns and wanted to change things, I started realizing, oh, this isn't my label. I don't own it. I don't have a vote in it. I don't really have a voice in it. I can say whatever I want about it, but I actually don't have any ownership. I don't have any profit sharing. And I never treated it like someone else's record label who I might be friends with. I always thought it was mine. So then I'm like looking back and I'm like, oh, what I thought this was isn't exactly what they thought it was, which is a tough pill to swallow, because it's like, I love these people and they're good people and they love me back. You know what I'm saying? And so for a year, I went in there and spilled my guts, and I strategized. And every single week, I'm like, I'm not happy, and I want to figure out what we can do about it. And after well over a year of doing that every week, I just started realizing, like, man, I don't think that I'm going to be able to get what I need here. And Ant told me, while I was complaining to him about this stuff, he said, man, I want you to know that my connection to you is not because you're part of this label that I helped start. It's not, my connection to you, what me and you have, is between us. And if you need to leave, if you need to change things, if you need to leave, I want you to know that I will always be your friend, and I will always work with you. I'll always support you. I will always make music with you. And that meant so much to me. And then when I finally broke the news to them that that's what I decided to do, immediately Slug was like, man, I'm so proud of you. I know this was not an easy decision to make. You know what I mean? And the way that you're bringing this to us, I'm so proud of you. And it was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing. And then, I moved to Istanbul and stayed in touch with those guys. And then we launched our podcast, launched our record label, went on our first tour 2 years ago now, the Travelers Tour. Ant came to multiple shows on that tour just to be there, just to sit there and watch me rap. Like, flew himself out when he already spends a lot of time away from his family. And, he came out there just on some like, yo, I need my dude to, but he always does that. But it meant so much in that particular moment. And then Slug actually came and did 2 episodes of the podcast. Like, he came to Madison. I can't even remember. I don't even think he let me pay for his hotel and his gas money. You know what I mean? And then we ended up driving. That was the last show of the tour. He came to Madison, and we did 2 episodes of the podcast. So if you go, that's probably 2 years ago at this point that me and Slug did those 2 episodes. And, Ant told me recently, like, those are the best interviews ever with Slug. A lot of people have interviewed him. Those are the best ones. So it's deeply meaningful to me. And then also, I had a difficult relationship with Minneapolis. Like, when I left this city that I had built my whole life in, there was a lot going on. There was, the George Floyd uprising and the city burning, and all of my complicated relationships there. And then there was like an outcry from artists in the Twin Cities basically saying that the established artists are bad. It went from like, they're good, like these artists, and it was all the established artists, all the people that could tour and stream and sell out venues and all this kind of stuff. It was like, no, they're actually bad. They're bad to women. They're gatekeepers. They're holding us all back. And there wasn't a lot of really like outcry against me personally, but it was like, you know, dismantle, destroy, get these people out of here. They're actually ruining the community for us. And don't buy their music, don't support them. And there were like people that I considered friends that were saying this stuff. And nobody had, there was not not with me anyway, direct conversations. All these people all know each other. And so the artistic community really collapsed in a lot of ways. And everybody is coming out trying to not get canceled themselves, saying, I'm against what those people did. I'm against what that person did. I disassociate myself from this person. And it was a lot of that. And, I'm somebody that was very intentional about all of the things that were being talked about. It's like now, like I've been talking about these things my entire career, from, women's safety to race relation, to the racial reality of America, of the music scene. You know what I'm saying? All of the, these have been focuses for me. And at no point did anybody say, wait, not Ali, right? Or at no point did anybody say, okay, well, for the record, my experiences with that guy have actually been good. You know what I mean? There are women that I know have come to me and said, hey, I was in a situation where I could have been really unsafe, and you and BK made sure I was safe. And honestly, I didn't even remember it, because there was a good amount of, that was something that's always been at the forefront for me and BK. Not that, everybody's got, if you look at anybody's life, and I'm certainly there are things that I can look back and say, okay, but even the mistakes that I've made, I've talked about those. So anyway, even leaving Minneapolis was painful in a lot of ways. It felt unsettled to me. So when I did this album, so me and Ant made a full new album called Satisfied Soul. I went to Minneapolis and I got an Airbnb for a month last spring to start this process. And I got an Airbnb right near one of the lakes. And I was, I'm in this fitness health kind of thing. Like I'm just changing the way I live. I'm not on a diet. I'm not on a thing. I'm just changing the way I live. I go outside and I walk. There's certain things that I eat very rarely. Overall, the amount that I eat is down. I'm just much more aware of my relationship with my body. So I was going outside every day and walking around this big lake, which is, the 10,000 steps that they suggest. Or sometimes I would walk from one end of town to the other. So every morning, I would go out in the city and walk and be in nature. And it was a really beautiful experience. It really helped me reconcile and fall in love again with that city based on connecting with the nature there. And it made me see the city in a whole different light, and its people. I saw the Twin Cities people in a different light, because I'm like, man, I'm albino, so going outside is a thing for me. Plus, I've always been overweight, and I don't feel comfortable in my body. So outside has never been where I do my thing. But I realized that in order to really appreciate the Twin Cities, to really appreciate Minnesota, you have to go outside. You got to be in nature. It's kind of like there's secular people that move to Istanbul, and Istanbul is really challenging to live in. And I'm like, I don't understand. What are you doing? You know what I mean? This is a place to be. It's great. But the thing that makes this place so amazing, for somebody who's not from here, in my experience, is man, go to the mosques and be around the beauty of the Islamic tradition here, and the graveyards and the amazing people and the history, the stories of some of the people that are buried here. And we go honor them because this was a sultan who obeyed his religious advisor, and so he wouldn't take money from the empire that was unjust. You know what I mean? And he would not abuse his power. We're honoring this person because of that. Here's someone that the Zionists tried to bribe when he was in deep financial disarray, and he wouldn't do it. And he did it politely, and he did it respectfully, and he did it with dignity and honor. You know what I mean? And no, we won't sell Palestine to you. We won't sell you any piece of Palestine, even though you're bribing me. I won't sell you any of it. Amazing, you know what I'm saying? So, and I started realizing, what was I doing in Minnesota all those years? Just being cooped up, trying to think of it as this like metropolitan space. And I'm frustrated with the culture and the whatever. It's like, yes, all of that is what it is. But in order to understand Minnesota, you got to be in nature. So I went out and I walked every day, and I fell in love with a particular lake that feels like my business. So I'm just not going to, but like one of the lakes there was just like, man, I did so much healing walking around this lake and just being with myself and my thoughts and like letting my body be back in that place. So it's just incredible. And then one of the first days that I was there, I was just like beside myself with gratitude. Like I was weeping openly walking around the lake with so much gratitude. Cause I'm like, man, all of these years I didn't know. I know I can be an artist. I know there's things I know how to do. I never knew, could I really go out on my own? One of the reasons people stay on record labels is because it's hard to live as an artist. Even if you're doing really well, you can sell out venues from coast to coast and be struggling financially. It's so expensive to do what we do. It's so difficult. And for most of us, our minds don't think we don't think like money people and business people. We have to be taught that. You know what I'm saying? So it can be really challenging. And a lot of the reason that people stay in business relationships, artists, it's because they need the money to do the things they're doing. It's hard enough to live, much less stack the investment money, the capital to invest in the work that you want to do. And by me and BK doing our thing together, and then, the touring that we did, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to DJ Last Word, who was not only the DJ on those tours for those couple of years, but was also, helping was doing the tour managing and helping with a lot of organizing that stuff. He did an amazing job and he worked really hard. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the reasons that we're able to get to this point. But I'm like, yo, I moved my family to a Muslim country. Me and my wife are both converts, and we did it. I have an office there. We have an apartment there. We got a community there. Our kids go to school there. Our kids are learning to recite the Quran. Me and my wife are converts. We're not that good at that stuff. But you want your children to have a chance to really swim in the ocean of this beautiful tradition. You know what I'm saying? And it's really hard to go to another country where nobody speaks English and you don't speak Turkish. They also don't speak Arabic. It's like, this is a very, very difficult situation. And we did that. And then we were able to not only live and survive that with no money and no backing. Our parents are all dead. We don't have money. We don't have a lot of investments and savings. And you know what I'm saying? Like, there's times where I feel like we moved to this country with just a few $1,000 to our name. And then walking away from the label is walking away from my safety net. You know what I'm saying? A lot of artists, that's the way it's like, if you need money, you run out of money, you get in a jam, you go to the label, you borrow money. But now you owe them money. And so when it's time to pay your royalties, it's like, well, we're going to take back the money. Instead of paying you your royalties, we're going to keep the money that we loaned you. And they did give you the money, but it's this cycle that you get trapped in, even if nobody's trying to trap you. As an artist, that's extremely common. Probably 95% of people that make music for a living are in this situation. And we end up touring till we die because we have no choice. Or we don't know. Some of it is our own knowledge. Some of it is that we don't know how to do it differently. You know what I'm saying? So I realized, like, man, we moved to another country. We did it. And now here I am in Minneapolis with one of my dearest friends on earth, financing my own project. I'm here on my terms. I've got the money to record it, to mix it, to master it, to hire musicians to be on it. I've got the resources to press it up beautifully, to make videos, to hire a publicist, I'm like, oh my God. Every single thing at every point in my life that I've asked the Creator for, that I've asked Allah for, Allah has never let me ask for a major thing in life and not given it to us. Everything. And so I was going to make an album about healing, You know what I'm saying? I figured like, and we made a couple songs. I made a song about, I made this song. There's a song on the record called Ocean of Rage that just talks about European Americans and their anger that is always below the surface. It's all foam on an ocean of rage. And then I made a song about leaving Minneapolis called Refugee and moving to Istanbul. And in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm slowly going to heal, and I'm going to like record and journal this healing process while making this record. And then I showed up to do the album and within the first few days, it's like, man, the pain is gone. All of it. Anybody that I feel like might have hurt me or done me wrong, I forgive all of them to the point where they didn't do anything wrong. They did nothing wrong. They did what they thought they were supposed to do in that moment, including everybody, excluding nobody. There is not a walking human being on this earth, dead or alive, that I have beef with. Nobody. I have no complaints against anybody on the day of judgment. Nothing. It's just all gratitude with Allah. You know what I mean? It's all gratitude. There are people I can't recommend anymore that I used to recommend publicly, but it's like, that's different. I have no beef with anybody. There are people that I really tried to help a lot that were actively trying to cancel me. And there was a time where I felt like, man, what was I helping you for? And then the question got answered because it's pleasing to Allah. That's why. Has nothing to do with this person. And apparently my help for them didn't get them to a place where they were happy. So, it's for Allah to decide whether or not I did what I did was pleasing, and whether or not it was with the right intention. And maybe I did something along the way. I probably did something along the way that did hurt this person, or there was something I could have done for them. The same way that I know that the people at the record label all were trying to help me. They all loved me. They were all trying to help me. Nobody was trying to hold me back. Nobody was trying to mess me up. Nobody liked for me to be stressed out or messed up or strong, whatever. Everybody was only doing good. And like, man, I'm like, yo, I can't even journal the healing process on this record, because the second I get there, it's like, oh my God, it's all beautiful. And so I made an album called Satisfied Soul. That's just like, I'm satisfied. I am satisfied. Everything that I think was difficult, challenging, painful, it's the destination is about the journey is about the destination. So if you reach the destination, then every step on the way to get there was the right step. That was right. All of it was right. And so I just made this album. Me and Ant just made this album that's a celebration of our love and our friendship for each other. It's a celebration of just how much I love making rap music with my friend. You know what I'm saying? I told funny stories. You know what I'm saying? I just sat in an Airbnb for a month, getting up every day, being in nature, walking and just being with Minnesota, being with the native, the Lakota and you know what I'm saying? The people that are originally from that place. And then being also with nature. And I reached out to a very, very small number of friends, people that I knew that I'm like, I want to make sure that I keep my bond with this person. So I reached out to a very small number of people, and I made sure to see them. You know what I'm saying? I had one meeting with, like, me and my wife used to host a space for Muslims and religious seekers just to connect with each other on the spiritual journey. It's not a worship service. It's not Jummah. It's, but my wife's a therapist. I'm somebody that knows a lot of scholars. I'm not a scholar, but I hang out with scholars, and I love this religion. I'm very inspired by it. So sometimes when I talk about it, some people share that inspiration. And for 5 years, me and my wife did this project where every Monday night we got together. And, so that was beautiful. So we had one gathering with them. I saw a couple people, really like 2 or 3, not a lot. Of the 20 years of people that I know and love there, I'm like, for whatever reason, I'm reaching out to a couple people. You know what I mean? And I saw them. And then at nighttime, and then in the morning, I would get up, walk for hours. And then I would go and sit down and write until like 10 o'clock at night. Because Ant has kids now, so Ant does his creative work at night. So Ant doesn't start till 10 p.m., sometimes midnight. And then he'll go till 4, 5, 6 in the morning. So I would get up every day and go and walk and just be in nature and just sing and cry and rejoice and pray. And like, it's just like, man, when I left, I felt so heavy. And now I'm soaring. And then, that was in the morning. And then afternoon and evening, I write a new song. I'm sitting there chipping away, writing a new song. And then that night I go to Ant's house, I show it to him, he gives me his advice, and I record the song right there in his basement. We did that for a full month. We got the album probably 2/3 of the way done. And then the rest of it I finished when I got back to Istanbul. I recorded the last song during Ramadan, this past Ramadan. And I couldn't talk about it. Like we put out, I also finished 2 albums right around the same time. It's usually 3, 4, 5 years between albums for me. So the Love and Service album with Unjust and the Satisfied Soul album with Ant. And they're very different. Different sound, different vibe. The Love and Service album I wrote on the mic, so I just think of 4 bars and record them. The Ant album, I sat down and crafted songs to those beats because that's what me and Ant do. That's our thing. That's what I do with that man in particular. So we sat down, made all these songs, you know what I mean? And it sounds like me and Ant, like it's soulful and big and musical, and some of it is lush and some of it's hard. Some of it is like, man, we both love hardcore rap music. So there's some of those songs I'm just rapping. I'm just rapping and rapping and rapping and rapping. You know what I mean? And the whole time I'm sending it, I got a few friends that I'm sending everything to as I'm doing it. So shout out to my man Shane Atkinson. I was sending him everything as I was doing it. I sent my man Mally a couple things. Me and Mally saw each other regularly. Mally is like one of my dear friends in Minneapolis that to this day we talk on a very regular basis. So I'm seeing Mally all the time. I got other friends that aren't rappers or whatever. And then Yassine Bey, I'm sending Yassine all the stuff I'm doing. That's when Yassine was on tour with Erykah Badu. And so Yassine Bey is just sending me all this stuff back, said, "Alaikum, you're in your bag, beloved, go." You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, yo. Plus I'm all the time like talking to, this man is one of my heroes. Like Yassine Bey is in my top 5. Like, you know what I mean? When I part of me knowing like, oh, yes, I can make music and just be me. A big part of the inspiration for that was Yassine, Mos Def. Like, you know what I mean? He's in my top 5 along with all the other greats. And we've become dear friends. And so I'm like, yo, not only all this, but I'm sending my demos to Yassine Bey, and he's like, yeah, yo. And like some of the stuff came about from our conversations. Like me and him would get on the phone and talk for 2 hours. And he would make a point that I'd be like, man, and then I'd make a song. Then I'd be like, all right, time for me to make a song. Make the song, I send it to him like, hey, you should get writing credit on this one. He's like, when did you make this? I'm like, just now. That's what we just talked about. He's like, yo, this amazing experience. Finished it during Ramadan. Matter of fact, one of the songs, there are people that would kill me, like just tear me up for saying this. There are Muslims that don't like music. I'm going to make an episode about that and think that we shouldn't do music. And it is one of the valid opinions in our tradition. Like valid imams have had that opinion. And so I would never say that that's not but it's not a consensus, and it's not the only legitimate opinion. There are a lot of imams in our tradition and scholars and great people going all the way back to the beginning that said music can be a good thing if it's used in good ways and if its outcomes are good. So I'm going to do an episode about, the fact that people say that music's haram. And like, how do I get asked that all the time. So I'm going to make an episode very soon of me talking about that, inshallah. So, but it is a fact that I was working on this album during Ramadan. And so every night I'm in Istanbul going to Taraweeh prayers where you go and you stand and they recite a 30th of the Quran during these extra night prayers. And man, you're there with all your neighbors. It's so beautiful. It's at this, like, I miss Ramadan. Like, man, I wish we could get another Ramadan in the middle of the year. I need a Ramadan very badly right now. So anyway, I was standing there in Ramadan in prayer, and the last song of the record came to me. And it's about the spiritual path. We talk about on the spiritual path, theology is about the head, like what do we believe? The religious law is about the hands, like what are my hands? Head, heart, hands. It's one of the ways that I describe the religion of Islam, the Islamic tradition. The head is the theology. The hands are the sacred code of conduct, the Sharia. And then the heart is tasawwuf, for spirituality, or tazkiyat an-nafs, purifying the heart. You know what I'm saying? Educating the soul, becoming wise, becoming beautiful on the inside. So it's all three levels of the human being. So head, heart, hands. So I made a song trying to get my head right, heart right, hands right. My ego won't shoot me a fair fight. You know what I mean? Rules get loose, the excuses airtight. I'm like thinking about this song. This song came to me while I was in prayer. And I'm like, I'm going to have three verses where I start out, my head, my heart, and my hands. Got a big ass head full of big ideas. Like this beat is just like this classic rock, soulful kind of thing that like, it's very Ant, you know what I'm saying? And then the second verse, so head, heart, hands, you know, I got Hulk hands and they're not for play. I'm trying to make so heart, head, heart, hands. And then the heart one is got a big ass heart. Got a big heart. Love real hard. Straight soldier for love up in the jihad. For my birds of my feather, I'm a peacock. Give you the, yo, man. And so that was the last song. Made this song. And then we headed to the Gambia to visit our teacher. And our teacher, Sheikh Muhammad Jailani, he has a community there. We're there with a bunch of our teachers. Dr. Omar Farouk Abdullah was there. Sheikh Hazem was there. All these amazing people. And then just the Gambians are like golden human beings. And I'm there with my wife and our kids. And I just finished making an album with Ant on top of the other stuff. And I love this album. I feel so good about it. And that night was the night of power. I get a message from Ant saying that they finished mixing the album. It's done. Because Ant and Joe Mabbitt, that's the other thing. Joe Mabbitt engineered it. So the last couple of things I've been done have been kind of lo-fi sounding, which I love. That's a very intentional sound. We did a lot of work to make it sound a specific way. That is an intentional sound that a lot of my listeners don't understand, because Rhymesayers in certain ways is kind of like a Motown for underground rap. So Motown is like all this black music happening, and Berry Gordy gets the idea that we're going to polish this up and make it accessible to people that don't know black music. And in terms of underground rap music, it's like, okay, we're going to make this thing sound big and crispy. We're going to mix it in a certain way. The videos are everything's going to be high quality so that it's accessible to people that don't necessarily listen to underground rap. It's one of the things that Rhymesayers brought to the game. And that's dope, but I still love just underground, dirty sounding rap music that's lo-fi, and like, I love that sound. So that's what I did with Evidence. That's what my stuff by myself is, and that's what me and Unjust did for the Love and Service album. That doesn't always translate to a lot of my core listeners. And I know that. This album with Ant is that big sound. You know what I'm saying? It's samples and replays and, live instruments playing along with the samples, and mixed by Joe Mabbitt, who was a guest on the podcast. He mixed all your favorite, Rhymesayers stuff, or a lot of it anyway. So it sounds amazing. And they're like sending me the mixes. But the Night of Power, we usually observe it on the 27th night of Ramadan. Nobody knows exactly when the Night of Power is, or no one can confirm it outwardly. Let's say it like that. But that's a night that you stand in prayer, and it's believed that that night is significant. So Allah has given certain times significance, and certain places significance, and certain people significance. Every time has its value. It's not to take anything away from anything. Every person has value. Every place has value, but they're not all the same. Allah doesn't repeat himself in creating. Like there's different times have different virtues. And so the 27th night of Ramadan, we're up all night praying. And so our sheikh, they give him the mic. He almost never talks. And he says, basically, what I heard was, I am commanding the hearts to forgive everybody with no exceptions, and to ask everybody to forgive us. And my heart, for the first time in my life, I've wanted to do this forever. That's when it really became solid. Like, I forgive everybody, and I seek forgiveness from everybody that ever had a problem with me. I'm not defending myself. It's just, I ask you to forgive me, and I forgive everybody, and they don't need to defend themselves. In my heart, I believe I'm at peace with the fact that they were probably doing what they thought was best. Most people are. Most people are doing what they think is wisest and best for them, and most people are trying to do good. It's just, what do you believe? What do you think is right? How are you assessing it? Are you guided? Some people are misguided. Not all assessments are equal, and not all actions are equal. There is right and wrong. There are some things that are objectively right and objectively wrong, and some people do things and respond to things in ways that are objectively wrong. But it's like in my mind, okay, you didn't. I'm forgiving everybody. Ask for everybody, forgive me. So it finished on that night, the 27th night of Ramadan of this past year. Or it's, earlier this year in the Western calendar. And man, satisfied soul. 17 songs. Me and Ant, we recorded 18. We took one of them off. You know what I mean? And we got other ones started, but it's like, man, 17 songs. Most albums nowadays are 8, 9 songs. And we were like, yo, should we take some of these off? And it's like, no, I love all of them. I can't think of one I want to take off. So it's like, yeah, let's do this like back in the day when we used to make 18-song albums. It's like, man, back in the day, we were trying to fill the CD. A CD holds 70 minutes or whatever. Let's fill the CD up. You know what I'm saying? We made 17 joints. And I couldn't be more happy. So then when it comes time to tour it, I'm telling Ant, like, man, I'm booking this tour. And I just tell him, like, man, no expectations, no pressure. That's what I say to him every time I bring something up to him nowadays. No expectations, no pressure. I don't feel entitled to what I'm about to mention to you. But if it seems like coming and doing this tour would be good, I would love that. And Ant's like, yes, I'm there. He said, I need to give me a week to ponder it, because Atmosphere does like 4 or 5 times the business that I do in terms of sales of records, streams, tickets, everything. So ever since Ant has been on tour, Ant's on a tour bus, which is very different than being in a van. I'm usually in a van. And that's what we're going to be doing in November when we do the Satisfied Soul tour. We got Anthony Davis in a van. And I mean, the fact that's like, yeah, he's a world-class musician. So like he's on a bus and there's people there that set everything up for him. And, so when you're on a bus, you drive to the next city overnight. You go to bed, whatever, you wake up, you're in the next city and you got all day until sound check. There's a few hotel rooms in your band's name. You're parked in the parking lot of the hotel. You go inside the hotel, you take a shower. If you're Ant, you iron all your clothes. You know what I'm saying? You do your hair care thing, you get fresh, you get all the way fresh. And then you do the town. So Ant is like spending all day. You go and you find healthy food, the food exactly that you like. And for Ant, he's going to the record store in every city. And a van tour is not like that. A van tour, you wake up early in the morning and that's the end of your sleep. You can sleep in the van if you can, but like then you sit up in a van and you drive. You spend your morning, your daytime hours driving to the next city. You get to the next city 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Load in at the venue is 5 o'clock. You got 1 hour to be in your hotel. You can shower, you can try to get a nap, you can try to FaceTime your kids. What you can. But you got 1 hour and then you got to be at the venue and you got to set your own stuff up. And you got to be there for all the parts of it. You know what I mean? And then you do the meet and greet. And we have VIP meet and greet on this thing. So brotherali.com is where all this stuff is. The tickets, everything. brotherali.com. The tour is announced. It's on sale. It's a West Coast tour with just a few Midwest markets, because those are my strongest markets. I'm not going to bring Ant on tour. I love all the cities that I go to. But in later years, the numbers in a lot of cities for all of us have gone way down. And so Ant said he would do this tour. I'm like, okay, we're just going to do the parts of the country that really come out for us the most. I want to give him the best results I can. So when we book the tour, it's mostly West Coast, and then there's 4 Midwest dates. Chicago, Madison, Minneapolis are the 3 strongest Midwest cities. And then we put Omaha in there because you got to get from Colorado to Omaha. But also, Omaha was the first city to ever really show me love. It's the city where me and BK figured out how to do a stage show. They're the first people to give me this, the Ali, Ali. They're the first people that, like, when Atmosphere finished we're open for Atmosphere, finished their set, they started chanting for me. And Slug came backstage with this big smile on his face. He goes, they're calling it, they want you. They're like, he said, get out here, man. And that's, so I always go to Omaha, even though the crowd there isn't big. But man, I can't forget stuff like that. Yeah, so we're putting this tour together. And like, we're going to drive to the next city and there's going to be a VIP meet and greet. That's why I was saying that. Very limited numbers. But if you do the VIP, you're hanging out with me and Ant before the show. You're taking a picture with us. We play a song, an intimate song in that intimate space. Maybe we do the song of your choice. You know what I mean? That's going to be a beautiful thing. And so then after doors, you got from doors until your set time, then you got 3 hours, but you got to pretty much stay by the club. So then you're walking around and it's like, okay, do I eat right before I go on stage or do I eat after I get off stage? So then you go do your set, you're sweaty, you're tired, but you're energetic because you just got off stage. And then you got to load out. The people don't load out for you on our tours, which is what happens on a bigger tour. You load your own stuff out usually. And then you go to the hotel and now it's 2:00 in the morning. You got to get up at 8. You got to be back in the van. You got to be in your seat in the van at 8 a.m. It's 2 a.m. right now. Do I eat? Do I try to talk to my kids? Do I shower now? Or when I wake up in the morning, I'm sweaty from the show. How do I come down? How do I make sure I get enough sleep? Touring in a van is not easy to do when you're 22. And especially when you're, which is the age we are now, you know what I'm saying? But luckily, and thank God, me and Ant are both conscious about our health. And Ant is really that way. Like Ant, you know, he only eats in a certain window. He eats very clean for the most part, and he walks a lot. So if you look at Ant, I mean, he's in amazing shape. For his age, he looks great. He's always been handsome and stylish and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just like, yo, I made an album with my best friend after leaving the country and leaving the label and leaving the city. Like, we love each other enough that our bond lasted us 4 years of me not even being in the same place. And we actually made a full album together just because we both love it that much. It's really powerful. It's very special. And that guy is actually going to come spend 5 weeks with me on tour to promote it and to support it and to be there for it. Another layer of meaning for all of this is that these will be my first paid gigs of the year. Like, so, okay, last year, what happened, October 7th happened. And I've always talked about the Palestinians. I've always been talking about the genocide, the occupation in Philistine. That's something I've been talking about since day one of my career because I'm connected to like people that know about colonialism and empire, people that know about white supremacy, people that know, and also being Muslim, I've been very connected to the Palestinian struggle a long time. I've been putting out music about this stuff since the early days and talking about it, et cetera. So, you know, right away on October 7th, I was like, yo, don't just act like today is an isolated incident. Understand the decades of, you know, nightmares that have been visited upon these people from individuals that are, you know, all of the biggest, most powerful armies and governments and economies of the world are helping them support this helpless people. So like understand where events like this come from. And immediately, all sorts of big names in the music industry hit me up to let me know, oh, you're messing up. You're saying the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying? And then we went on tour. My last tour, the last paid shows I did were with Grouch and Living Legend and Reverie, Living Legends and Reverie. And so that was in November and December. And so I was getting on stage every night. And on Uncle Sam Goddamn, I would break the beat down and say, you know what it is if you listen to Ali, free Palestine from the river to the sea. Now that was like borderline illegal to say at that time. This is before the encampments. This is before anybody, you know, this is very early in all of this. And the promoters for those shows were telling my booking agent, the people I was on tour with, you know, Eli is a Jewish brother in Living Legends. One of the promoters said to him, why you let Ali say that on stage? You're Jewish. And Eli is like, I don't support the occupation and the genocide. And also Ali has the right to say what he wants. Also his brother Ali, what are you talking about? He's always been like this. He's doing what he always does. And and then also our last album, actually both of these albums, we were supposed to work with a particular distributor and they were talking with us like everything was good. And then they made a bunch of very, very pro-Zionist statements. And when we did the other, they just ghosted us. They just left us hanging. Didn't promote the stuff. Also, those people throw festivals. And so this is the first year The first summer ever in my 22 or 4 years of releasing, 24 years releasing music, 22 years touring consistently, constantly. Even in the pandemic, we were performing in parking lots. And even in when I moved to Turkey, I'm still flying back to America, doing plenty of shows and festivals. Never had a summer without festivals. This is the first year, not a single invitation, nothing. Nobody booked me for anything this year. Not even private events. Like my booking agent is a Jewish sister, and Unjust that I made the Love and Service album with is a Jewish partner. Like I made that album with a Jewish producer and a Jewish partner. He also animated and illustrated everything. But there's a song on there called The Collapse where we talk about Philistine. And he's the Unjust, a Jewish man that went on Birthright, married a Jewish lady. He's the one that did the animation and illustration for that video. If you haven't seen The Collapse, and that's me singing the chorus, by the way. People don't know that. I want people to know that. But man, no shows. I have not had a single paid gig all year. And we're still here. And so when I go back, it's going to be me and Ant celebrating our whole career of music together. You know, we've been putting out music since 2003. Our first album came out together. I mean, the major moments of my life have been me and that man working together. And for most of it, BK was, you know, the DJ. BK was kind of like my, you know, these two guys are my day ones. But I say BK was a little earlier, you know what I mean? But these two are the dudes. Like these guys have been the catalyst for me doing what I've done. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying this to say, most of all, I'm grateful to Allah. I'm so thankful to God. And the tickets are on sale now. I hope they sell out. These are venues that have sold out whenever I've done them. So hopefully the tickets sell out. I am going to ask you this, though, if you're listening. Go sign the mailing list, brotherali.com. Please, please. If you haven't already, go to brotherali.com, sign the mailing list. Today on Monday, we're sending out an announcement. We don't hit you every week or anything like that, only when there's something to announce. And this is a big thing to announce. I'm sending out the square and the portrait social media images. I'm shadow banned on social media. Like less than 1% of my people see my stuff. Now the algorithm's a problem for everybody, but I'm shadow banned. It's like confirmed. It's very, very clear. So I'm asking people to please, if you feel so inclined, like if you're as excited about this as I am and you feel like this is a good thing and it, you know, no expectations, no pressure. I should make a shirt, no expectations, no pressure. But man, Slug had one where he said, high standards, low expectations. We have high standards for ourselves, low expectations for other people, you know. And so, but if you feel like it would be a major help for you to post about the tour and tell people go to brotherali.com, get all the information, because it's very difficult for us to get the word out. And I will say too, the last show of this tour is in Minneapolis at First Ave, which is a place that that is a particular situation that I kind of almost went through some grieving about. Like I had to mourn and grieve leaving Minneapolis and leaving the business part of Rhymesayers. It was not easy. It was not an easy decision to make because I love all those people so much and they love me. And we were all trying to do good. It's like, it's difficult to accept that you could have a bunch of good people that love each other and try to do good and it's just not working out. And I don't think we can fix it. That's a difficult pill to swallow. It was for me, it probably was for them. You know, there are folks that don't like the fact that I did that. There are people that are just like, man, I wish Ali wouldn't have left us. You know, and it's like, yeah, I wish I wouldn't have felt like I had to, but that's, you know. And I kind of felt like, man, I might never play in Minneapolis again. That's the way I felt. Like when I left there, it's like, okay, I did all this community service work. I spoke on all these topics. Every artist that came along, if I could figure out a way to help them, I tried to. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's smiling in my face and saying all this good stuff. There are people canceling me that I taught them how to hold a microphone. I got on their records for free. There's people that like stayed at my house. There's people I brought on tour. There's people that I flew their wives and girlfriends out on my dime and got them nice hotel rooms and paid them for stuff that I didn't need to pay them for. And you know what I'm saying? That's how Slug trained me. Slug trained me, you be a good person to other artists. We're in a community together. You know what I'm saying? Anything you can do for other people, you do it. Whether you agree with them, whether they're the same kind of rapper as you, we're all artists in this thing together. And that resonated with me based on the way that I was brought up as a Muslim, as a community person. It resonates. You know what I'm saying? Man, there's this whole other story that I want to tell you guys. But that is an ethos that I really hold to. And then the people are saying, like, no, all the established artists are bad. They're all women abusers and they all so-and-so. And none of these people, like only one or two of them, like even reached out to me behind the scenes and were like, yo, are you okay? You know what I mean? And one person I saw, a poet and rapper, amazing poet, amazing rapper named Desdemona, who is a woman artist who is extremely instrumental. She used to throw a hip hop festival called B Girl B, all women in hip hop. And like, and somebody said, Brother Ali lied and made us all think he was black. And Desdemona just wrote, and she's a white woman. So a lot of people, I'm like, okay, you can't really defend other people publicly, especially if you're vulnerable in any way. And even if you've never done anything wrong. And none of us have never done anything wrong. We've all done something wrong. And so have you. And so have the people that point out other people's wrongs. We have all done something wrong. We have all done something that if that's the part that everybody sees, nobody would want to be your friend. Nobody would want to be associated with you. Everybody has a night like that. Everybody has a conversation like that. Everybody has said or done or not shown up for something that is really damning. We are all in need of grace and mercy. But it's like, who am I over time? And so Desdemona said, actually, if you pay attention to what Ali has been saying, she's like, I've known a Brother Ali since 1996. People have always thought that he was black. He has always had a really kind of, interesting like relationship with race and identity and whatever, but he's always talked about it in public. He never lied about it. She said something like that. If you actually pay attention to what Ali has been saying, he has been talking about exactly this stuff for 20 years. And she didn't have to do that. She's one of the people that I did see when I went to Minneapolis. And I hadn't seen her in years. She doesn't owe me anything, but she's on my demo tape, my Rites of Passage demo tape. And she's a great artist. She's amazing, incredible organizer, beautiful human being. I want to have her on the show, actually. A lot of people, I just haven't got around to it yet. But she spoke up and said something when it mattered, But I've been thinking since then, the way that everybody was so quick to throw each other away, not everybody, but so many vocal people that were in community together. You guys know each other. We all know each other. We've been to each other's houses. We've met each other's children. You know what I'm saying? And so the title track of my other album that we released this year, Love and Service, is about that. And it seems that that's not people's favorite song on the album, but go listen to that, please. That's what I had to say about being through an experience like that. And so I'm like, man, I don't know if this is a community. I don't know if this is my community. I didn't know if I would ever get on stage in Minneapolis again. And I ended up doing two kind of small shows at an independent place called the Ice House, which are like mega underplays. Like we didn't advertise them. It was just like, go there, do a small show. And those were really cool, and they were very beautiful nights, and it was kind of healing and, all that stuff. It was fine. But I have not done a proper show in Minneapolis in 5 years. And that's where that used to be the goal. So I'm going to go do that. And it's First Avenue, and I usually sell First Avenue out. From the first time I ever played it was 2004. And we were doing a fundraiser for an Iraqi immigrant refugee who was an artist that the police pulled him over and beat him up and then charged him with stuff. BK1 knew him, Brendan knew him. And so like, okay, we're going to do a fundraiser for you. And it was my first time headlining First Ave on my own. And then I told Immortal Technique about it, and he was like, oh, I'll do that. So this is 2004 Immortal Technique. You know what I'm saying? And so Immortal Technique came and played it too. Sold out First Ave. And every time since then, I've either sold it out or it's been like just a few tickets away from sold, like a few like under 20 type of thing. Sold it out over and over and over again all these years, sometimes 2 and 3 nights in a row. And so this is my first time going back, and I don't know what to expect. I don't like the radio stations that used to exist. I think some of them, there's one there that I don't know if they play Rhymesayers music. I just don't know. The main hip hop station doesn't exist anymore, I don't think. I'm like, how do you, the newspaper there, that I actually went to war with the newspaper and the radio station because they were doing the community dirty. I sacrificed my own relationship because of me standing up for things that I believed in, the very stuff that people were being called out for. And I brought other artists to the table, and I brought activists to the table, and I brought, that's because that's what I believe in. But so the newspaper doesn't exist. I'm like, I don't even know how to get the word out anymore. And I'm shadow banned on social media. So I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go. And some of the promoters for these shows are the ones that didn't like what I was saying on stage about Palestine. But it's, they still booked the show. So I don't think they want to lose money on the show. And not that First Ave was in that particular situation, but I don't know how this is going to go. You know what I'm saying? But I will say that's one thing that I'm thinking about now. What's that First Ave show going to be like? How am I going to feel? What am I going to do if I go to First Ave and there's not many people there? It's 1,500. They expanded it since we first started doing it. It used to be 1,200. Now it's 1,500 people. What do I do if I go there and it's 400 people? Back in the day, I used to have bad dreams a lot when we started touring. And my bad dreams in the beginning, I said this on a song called Sensitive, actually. My bad dreams in the beginning were that I would get on stage and my voice didn't work and I couldn't breathe and the equipment didn't work. And so we were in a dope situation where, the type of situations we were in regularly. Like, okay, we're opening for Public Enemy. We're opening for Atmosphere, Rakim. We're opening for Wu-Tang. It's time to do it. What's up? And the equipment doesn't work. My voice doesn't work. The mic's not on. You know what I mean? It's like that being at school naked dream, but it's the on stage version. I had a dream one time that when I was a headliner, I had a dream that I was on stage, and on stage I lost consciousness, but I was still on the mic talking, and then I regained consciousness, and everyone's looking at me like, "What the hell did you just say?" And I'm looking at like Brendan, and he's like shaking his head and like packing up. And the whole audience is like, hell no. And I'm like, yo, I don't know what I said. These are nightmares that I had back in the day. And then, after years of things being successful and doing well, and, I had a very specific nightmare that I was on stage at First Avenue, and First Avenue has this like checkerboard pattern floor. I had nightmares, more than one, that I'm standing on stage and I look out in the audience and there's not many people there and nobody cares. A very specific bad dream that I've had. I haven't had it in years. You know what I mean? Because, being even in a community where there's cancellations happening, you just start to learn like, oh, people's opinion of me is like a material possession. You know what I mean? You might have it, you might not. You might have the good opinion of the people, you might not. You might lose it. Just like you can lose your house, just like you can lose your car, just like you can lose your hearing. You know what I'm saying? Everything in this material world where things are limited to time and space and they're, dependent on the creator. You could, Imam al-Ghazali, Allah be well pleased with him, one of the great ones of all time. He says, anything you love, if you start noticing you love something in the dunya, in this realm of life, understand that you're going to have to say goodbye to it. It will be taken from you. Everything you love, except for the love of God, the love of, beautiful people, the love of virtue, those things won't be taken away. So that's all that should be in your heart. The material things can be in your hand, but they're never in your heart. And I learned that about the opinions of people. Reputation. You could have a great reputation that you work hard on. And, I felt good about my reputation, even though not everybody likes me. And people have good reasons for not liking me. There are people that just don't like me. And I get it. It's like, man, they're not wrong. I just know they're not wrong. So it's like, yeah, man, do you. There's a rapper that just posted something. He's like, hey, he's a rapper from Minnesota. He's like, people think I listen to Brother Ali. I don't. I never have. He can rap, but I don't like it. And I wanted to respond and just be like, yo, man, I respect that. Thanks for saying I could rap. You know what I mean? Because not everybody likes everybody. But, very specifically, like going through that kind of disavowed me of depending on, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing to lose that, because you should not. A person can destroy themselves by trying to chase the good opinions of other people. It's really important. And just like if you have a lot of money and you're privileged in that way, you know what I'm saying, or you're blessed and fortunate in that way, it's good to know that you could lose it. So don't take it for granted, and don't think that it's yours, and don't set your life up in a way where you require it. Don't be the kind of person that if you don't have money anymore, now nobody will mess with you. Don't be that kind of person. And don't be a person that just expects to be well known and revered in your, like, you shouldn't expect that. You know what I mean? So it's like, I lost it. And I'm like, and I'm okay. And I'm, sounds weird, but I'm glad I lost it. I'm glad I lost it. I'm glad. I used to, for 15 years, I could not go outside in the Twin Cities without somebody yelling out of their car, buying my dessert, asking to take a picture, you know, trembling, crying, showing me tattoos of my words. I was famous in that city for that period of time. Ever since all that, part of it is the uprising, part of it's the pandemic, part of it might be the cancel thing. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just know that I go to Minneapolis now, and it's every now and then somebody will be like, hey man, I used to really like your music. I'm like, I still make music, but people don't know. It's hard to get the word out. But man, so I don't know how to feel about Minnesota. I don't know how I'm going to feel. I don't know if doing this show at First Half is a good idea. I hope so. I hope we can at least get the word out somehow. You know what I mean? Just so that people can at least know it's happening. That's the big challenge with being truly independent, is how do you even get the people that already like you to know that you're still making music? I see stuff all the time. People be like, man, I wonder what so-and-so is up to. They were so dope. And I'm like, yo, they still make music. And it's in my opinion, some of it's better than what they did when they were young. But it's so hard that people don't continue looking for new music, you know? So that's just one element of it. There's one element of it where I hope these shows go well. But if nothing good ever happens in the rest of my life, I've had another season of life where I sought out to do something that I felt drawn to do. It felt right in my heart. It felt like it felt like the next right thing for my life's journey to do. And people helped me with it, and we prayed for it, and it was against a lot of odds, you know, not trying to, you know, be like super first player or whatever, but like, man, it's just another time in my life when I set out to do something that the odds were stacked, that didn't look likely. And for me, I don't care how anybody else sees it. Every time that I've done something like that, it has come true. It's not sexy, it's not luxurious, it's not like a movie, it's not dramatic. You know, if somebody had a camera showing it, it might not look like much to you. But to me, in my heart of hearts, it's like, man, we moved to a country that we wanted to be in. We got set up here. Our daughters are being raised in a situation that we love for them. We are being healed. We're better people than we were when we moved here. We are more sane and more, we're more stable and steady. We're more steady. Not that we weren't stable, but like we're more steady than we were. And we've advanced and we've moved forward, and we've, you know, a lot of great, but then also I got to go back to that place to reckon with it, to make my peace with it, and to make an entire new body of music with one of my best friends on this earth. And the album is coming, more information on it coming soon. It's called Satisfied Soul. I can't wait for you to hear it. So this tour is going to be me and Ant doing our music together, the music that we made over the last however many years. And that's the, you know, and then D1 is going to be with us on tour. D1 is an incredible artist, and he's dope live, really, really dope live. He did an episode of the podcast, of this podcast, Travelers Podcast. So if you haven't heard that, go check it out. But man, he's coming on the whole tour. And I like, that's just energy that I'm excited to be around. And I feel so good about this thing. So, you know, any of you that support in any way that you do, if you stream our music, if you buy our music, if you signed our mailing list, if you are just listening to this, especially even if you're clicking, sharing, subscribing, you're telling your friends like, yo, did you know Brother Ali has a podcast? Yeah, everybody, all these, R.A. the Rugged Man's on it, Vinny Paz is on it, Merce is on it, Chris Calico is talking. Chris Calico left Strange Music and Tech Nine. That wasn't easy for him either. Him and I bonded over a lot of that stuff. And we both walked away like, yo, I love everybody. They all love me. It just, it's like, this is what's the next best thing for me. I feel incredibly grateful. Also, the administrative side and the logistical side of running your own career is hard, and it's stressful, and it's a lot of work. I always knew that, but now I really know it. It's very difficult. It's very stressful. There was a time where, there was a team around me handling a lot of this stuff. And it's not that I didn't appreciate them. I really did, and I still do. But now that I'm doing it, a lot of it myself, I realize like, yeah, this is a lot of work, and it's a lot to consider, and it's a lot to constantly be thinking about, and it's a lot to check back in on and deal with and all that stuff. But thank you. Thank God and thank you. And, thank you to everybody that's been rocking with us in every single way that you can. We only have 2 months to get the word out about this tour. Please, if you want to go, if you have to travel to be there, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I don't know if Ant will ever come on tour with me again. Maybe this will be a thing, I'm treating this like this is a one-time thing. The Ant's going to climb in a van and just take a huge step back in life. I mean, it's kind of like, man, I mean, imagine imagine you lived in a house for the last 20 years and then you got a friend that's like, yo, let's get a studio apartment together. And you're like, okay, you know what I mean? It's that. Or imagine you always fly first class and somebody's like, yo, let's fly to Japan together. It's 22 hours. And, we're going to sit in the back middle seats. And you're just like, all right, man, for you, I'll do it. That's what Ant's doing by getting in a van with me. You know what I mean? It's really, really very, very beautiful. So I'm saying these tickets are on sale. By the time you're hearing this, the tickets are on sale. Don't miss it. I do not want to hear, how come you're not coming to so-and-so? I'm coming from Istanbul, Turkey to perform in the places I'm performing. If you really want to see me and Ant perform together, just get a ticket and go to where it's at. Get on Cheap Tickets or Google Flights or Expedia, whatever, wherever you get your cheap tickets. Just get you some Spirit Airlines tickets, a couple $100, and just go to where we're at. I don't want to hear it. I can't go everywhere on every tour. This is a grown man with a very successful band that he tours with all year long and children. I'm coming from a different country with children. And, and it's not always safe for me going to America. The security people, sometimes they really give me hell. I don't know. I never know. Every time I fly, I never know when they're, So if you want to, it might be good to not miss this. If you are part of what we're doing and it's meaningful to you, this would be a good one to come see. And I hope the tickets do well. I hope it all does well. But I'm just very grateful and happy to be able to share this with you, because if you've been part of this journey, then you've been part of this. And part of this is because of you supporting us. The people that subscribe to the Caravan and they give $5 a month, you're part of why I've been able to do this. Why we have been able to do this. You know what I mean? To the people that, bought the Love and Service CD or the vinyl, or you bought the Brother Minister thing, or you liked or shared or subscribed, or if you gave money to Zakat Foundation, you know what I'm saying? You helped keep them being like, yeah, we should support this podcast. Shout out to Zakat Foundation, zakat.org. Go and check them out. They've supported this podcast from the very beginning. But I am beyond grateful. It's really an amazing thing to ask for stuff that's so unlikely and to get it every time. And I just really hope we can be worthy of it. It makes you think about all your mistakes, your shortcomings. It's like, if you why have a single breath of ingratitude? Why have a single breath where I'm not grateful and I'm not thinking about how amazing this is? Not to mention I complain and I'd be having a pissy attitude and, you know what I mean? But grace and mercy, that's how we get by. Thank you so much for being part of this. Go to brotherali.com, sign the mailing list, like, share, subscribe, everything. BK1 just put an album out called A Black Box Recovery. Very limited edition that's going. Get that if you like it. Only a few songs are streaming. Ant just put out a new album, Collection of Sounds. Go and check that out. Old Boy Rhymes just put out a new thing. Shout out to Sage Francis and Merce. Those are two guys that have managed their careers the whole time. They've both worked with partners from time to time, but they've always been their own they've been their own manager their whole career. And so those are two people I ask a lot of advice from, and they always show up for me. Anything I ask, Sage Francis or Merce, they always show up for me, and it's really beautiful. I really appreciate both of them so much. So yeah, Mercer's label, Old Boy Rhymes, up and coming artist, and he's a newer artist in our genre that made a really dope album that I'm really blessed to be on. Blueprint has a new album coming out, a producer album. He's another one that I check in with. Check out Blueprint's podcast, Super Duty Tough Work, Blueprint and Illogic. Illogic celebrating the 20-year anniversary of his album, his classic joint. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to all these people. You know what I'm saying? It's like anybody that really is committing to doing this thing this many years in and has this feeling that I'm not done. I still want to do the greatest work I've ever done. I think I can still make my best album. Like I've learned things. I'm better at this. I still think I can make my best song, my best album. I still think I can have amazing moments. I'm coming back to this. So any of y'all that are still like, yo, I'm here with you. That's a major, major, major gift. And some of you all have been around since the early 2000s. Some of you all have been around for over 20 years. Some of you met your wives and husbands at our shows, and now you bring your kids to our shows. It's incredible. It's a beautiful thing. May we always honor our gifts and show up for them correctly. I love you all a lot. More to come. I really hope that I can see you on this tour, and I hope that you love this music that we made together. Satisfied Soul Tour, Satisfied Soul Album, everything's at brotherali.com. I love everybody. If you're mad at me, I understand. Please be better than me and forgive me. If I hurt you, if I wronged you, feel free to reach out to me. But the best thing is that we forgive each other. Anybody that ever said something bad about me or didn't say something good about me when it could have really helped, I have nothing against anybody. Allah is my witness. I have nothing in my heart against anybody. And I hope that nothing shows up. I hope it stays that way. Sheikh Muhammad Jailani says we have to clean our hearts. You start by cleaning your heart, and you got to get all grudges out. You have to get all anger out, all resentments out, all hostility out. You got to get all that out. As Muslims, he said, what we want on our record is La ilaha illallah. Nothing is worthy of our devotion except for the creator of it all. No person, no thing, whatever. And Muhammad Rasulullah. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, and human beings can be good. Our real nature is good. Prophets prove that. Saintly people prove that. Righteous people prove that. There are righteous people in this world. There are good people in this world. I refuse to believe that human nature is all bad and everybody is bad. It's just not. The overwhelming majority of people intend good, and there are people who achieve it, And that's all I want on my record. I don't want Brother Ali. I don't want those things on my record. And I have an outstanding case against so-and-so. And I am mad at this person. I don't want to carry any around that around with me. And that's a very liberating place to be in. It's very, and I hope it's true. Maybe you go along and I maybe run into somebody that I forgot about, and I'm like, oh yeah, I still don't like you. So hopefully I'm not making a false claim. That's the intention anyway, and that's a beautiful thing. So I love all y'all. Hope to see you soon. May you be well, and please just keep on doing you and keep on supporting people that are doing stuff that you believe in, because it goes a long way. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.